With the recent news of FTX going bankrupt, I feel like this image right here is the most cursed image of all time. Angel Hernandez rocking out with an FTX sponsorship patch. Yeah, that's terrifying. What's up, everyone? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another MLB recap. We have a lot to talk about today. Pretty much half of Major League Baseball is trying to trade for Tyler Glasnow right now, and they don't have a huge amount of time, so they're trying to get it done pretty much by the end of today. The Cubs, they're reportedly in on a few different players, and speaking of the Cubs, Wilson Contreras, he might be on the move to the World Series champs. Now, before we talk about all of that, I do want to go ahead and let you guys know that Barry Bonds, as well as Roger Clemens, and a few other players that did not make the Hall of Fame, they have another chance in December. On December 4th, 16 members of the Contemporary Baseball Era ballot will join forces, and if Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Curt Schilling, any of the guys that did not make it, if they get 12 of the 16 votes, they will be enshrined in Cooperstown forever. So Barry Bonds and the other kind of cheaters, they still have a chance. And Curt Schilling, I know he didn't cheat, but he wanted his name off the original Hall of Fame ballot. He wanted to be voted in by his peers and not by writers, or as he calls them, like nerds and weirdos. I don't know. Curt Schilling, he's an interesting guy. Now, before we talk about a potential blockbuster deal between the Rays and maybe the Mets or the Angels, we have to talk about a few free agent signings. So World Series champion Rafael Montero, he is going back to the Astros, 3 years, $34.5 million. He had a 2.37 ERA in the regular season and a 1.93 ERA in the postseason. But I guess the question is it smart to give $10+ million a year to a 32-year-old? In my opinion, that's a little bit steep, but that means nothing but good things for free agents across baseball. If a 32-year-old relief pitcher that's really only had 1 or 2 good seasons in baseball, if he's getting $10+ million, how much is Aaron Judge or other guys gonna get? Speaking of relief pitchers getting the bag, almost 32-year-old Robert Suarez, who broke out in 2022, he gets 5 years and $46 million. This is so awesome considering a few years ago, he was working security at a supermarket. He was completely out of baseball. He joins the Padres in 2022. He makes his debut as a 31-year-old. Again, he's almost 32, but basically he had the exact same season as Rafael Montero. He was nearly unhittable in the playoffs before that happened.
Bryce gonna lose, and Manny's gonna cruise.
Marty, I'm scared.
One more 32-year-old relief pitcher I want to talk about, former Tampa Bay Ray. This is perfect because we'll talk about Glasnow after this. Nick Anderson is going to the Atlanta Braves on a 1-year deal. If you don't remember, back in the second half of 2019 and into 2020, Nick Anderson was considered a top 5 relief pitcher in the game. Injuries have really slowed down his career, and speaking of slowing down, his velocity was down when he was coming back from his rehab stint and surgery. So hopefully he can really perform well for the Braves. If he doesn't, the Braves only owe him $185,000, but if he gets called up to the big leagues, Nick Anderson will make $875,000. So I am crossing my fingers. I am rooting for the guy. Again, not too long ago, Nick Anderson was nearly unhittable with, I think, a 16, 17 strikeouts per 9 in the second half when he was traded from the Marlins to the Rays in 2019. The dude was disgusting. He put the Rays on his back. He was one of the main reasons why the Rays went to the World Series. All right, here we go. Some juicy rumors across the game of baseball. The Cubs, the Mets, and the Angels have all contacted the Tampa Bay Rays, and they're asking about some of their pitchers, whether it's Jeffrey Springs or Tyler Glasnow. Specifically Tyler Glasnow, I expect one of the big names in that rotation to get shipped because Drew Rasmussen, he had a breakout season. Again, Jeffrey Springs was really good. Tyler Glasnow, the Rays, they're so good at developing players that they can afford to lose someone like Tyler Glasnow, who isn't owed the most amount of money going into 2023, but in 2024, I believe he's owed $25 million. So teams like the Cubs, the Mets, the Angels, they can take that hit, but obviously the Rays, they don't want to do that. The Rays, we all know that they are one of the more frugal organizations in baseball. They would rather sell too soon as opposed to selling too late. So Tyler Glasnow, coming off of injury, he was throwing gas last year. I know he looked a little bit rough. That's because he was coming back from Tommy John surgery. I fully expect him to be 100% healthy going into 2023. So if any of the teams that we talked about, the Cubs, the Mets, the Angels, I've even heard reports that the Orioles are trying to get Tyler Glasnow if they can't steal Jacob deGrom from the Mets or whatever other team Jacob deGrom is interested in. So there you go. Tyler Glasnow, he's a main target. And if this happens, it's probably going to happen in the next 24 hours. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, turn on those bells, You do not want to miss it. So again, the three teams that are interested in Tyler Glasnow, at least that's what's being reported, the Angels, the Mets, and the Cubs. The Cubs, conversations are saying that they are going to be big spenders in this offseason, and they did a pretty good job at retooling after losing Javier Baez, Chris Bryant, Wilson Contreras is going to walk, Anthony Rizzo is on the Yankees. We know that. Pretty much their core pieces from the World Series, it's going to be a brand new team. But again, the Cubs, they have a lot of money to spend. They're looking for a shortstop. They have been talking to Carlos Correa, and also they're looking for an outfielder. We all know that Ian Happ just had his best season in baseball, but he's not a free agent until after the 2023 season. So you want to trade him while his peak is at an all-time high instead of risking it going into the next season. Maybe he has a down year, and then you're not going to get the most value not only in a trade, but you're going to lose him altogether if he walks in free agency a year later. Another Ian Happ-esque situation, Brian Reynolds. We all know he is an all-star center fielder for the Pirates. The Pirates have said out loud that they will not be trading Brian Reynolds, and I don't know if I necessarily believe them, and the Red Sox don't as well. The rumors are the Red Sox are trying to pry Brian Reynolds away from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, a reminder, Brian Reynolds is one of the more affordable players in all of Major League Baseball, so if a trade does happen, considering how good he's been for the amount of time that he's been one of the top center fielders in baseball, the Red Sox are going to have to part with a lot. I mean, they're going to have to give a haul away. Staying with the Red Sox, there is a report that they have offered Nathan Eovaldi two different things. One, a qualifying offer, so Nathan can either accept $19.5 million or he can accept lesser money, about $15 to $17 million, but it will be a multi-year deal, so he's securing the future in exchange for lesser dollars on an annual basis. And if I'm Nathan Eovaldi, I take that multi-year deal. I am not risking it because he was not very good in 2022. Staying with the Red Sox, we know that their free agent shortstop, Xander Bogaerts, he could be on the move, but the Red Sox, they're going to fill that hole pretty easily, whether it's with Trey Turner, Carlos Correa, Dansby Swanson. I really feel like even if they lose Xander Bogaerts, they will still be okay. Even if they move Trevor Story to shortstop and Trey Turner plays second base, whatever happens, the Red Sox will be fine. But the Phillies, they're not only in on Trey Turner, but their fallback option is Xander Bogaerts. Xander almost hit 320 last year with 75 RBIs. He was better with the glove. Xander, again, the fact that he has 5 Silver Sluggers, he is going to be in an offense that absolutely rakes if he does go to the Phillies. Something to keep your eye on. Again, the Phillies are going to make a splash, whether it's with Xander or any of the other 3 or 4 top shortstops that are available. You're telling me that the Houston Astros, the World Series champs, are in the mix to get Wilson Contreras over the last half decade? You could definitely make an argument that at one point or another, he's been considered the best catcher in baseball, and at the very least, he's always in the mix for top 3 or 5. The Astros, they're not going to retain Christian Vasquez. Martin Maldonado, they call him the machete because as a defensive catcher, he's about as good as it gets. But Wilson, I mean, he's the complete package. He's a great defender. He can hit. He can actually run a little bit as well. He can play other positions like outfield or second base. If I was a general manager, which we all know I'm not, I would have my eyes on Wilson Contreras because he just makes the team better. Again, if we're talking about leaders in baseball, he's at the top. Guys, that does it for today's recap. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. We do this almost every single day. Have a great one.